Look at if and else, if-else statements. These are super important. You can take a look at the code to see the structure of it. Perhaps I'll zoom in on that. All right, so let's take a look. If statements allows you to check to see if something, whatever is in these parentheses. So if something is true, then execute this line of code. So ifs are like little pieces of code that run based on a condition. So if this is satisfied, if whatever is number, if it's equal to 3, then we would execute this line of code. If number is not 3, then we do not execute this line of code. We just skip the if statement. So it allows you to write some code that will or will not execute based on some condition. Else statements run after ifs, and then it does, if this is false, if this doesn't run, then it'll skip to this and then do something. So let's just run through this. So we create an integer, we call it number, and we assign it 14. This is called initializing a variable. So we created a number and we assigned it 14. It's when you just give it a value. And then we're trying to check. Double equals, that means that's actually equals to. The single equals sign is an assignment operation. This one is actually checking for equality. If number is the same as 3. Right now this is 14, so this would run as false. So this does not get executed. So this you cannot see. This won't happen. This won't print out. The number is blah blah blah. So in this case it would skip over all of this chunk of code and would go to the else, and it would immediately print out this number 14 is not 3. The number 14 is not 3, and then it does this condition. Less than, of course, just means is it less than 3. Let's move on to the next slide. I think it's on the next slide. Yeah. So this means equals, like equality. It's checking for things that are the same, checking for numbers that are the same, and then this is greater than. This is backwards, so this is not right. I should pause this. All right, so there we go. So this checks for equality. This is greater than, so we can say we'll say if number is greater than 3, if it's bigger than 3, then you would execute this code. If it's not, you would not execute the code. This is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So that's how you use those things. So you can string a bunch of if-else statements together. This is one way to do it. If this execute this, else do this, and then it starts over again. So this is inside the else. If number is less than 3, if the number is less than 3, execute this, and then you can do another else if. So else and then check something else. You could actually continue this on. So it could go if something, do something. Else if something, do something. Else if. You can have that going all the way down, and then at the very end you would say else, and then whatever you want it to do after everything would be false. Later you'll understand that more and more as you ask questions and play around with this code. This is the not equals, so you can say if the number is not equal to 3, then do something. That's what this means. It's just saying it's not that thing. Hopefully that makes sense. If we have, we can do sort of the same thing for strings. If you want to check, remember a string is a list of characters or words, like sentences. If you want to check if one string is the same exact list of characters as another string, you can check that with string.equals, and then it checks to see if it's the same as whatever's inside here. And if you look at this code, you can see actually how to use, hopefully that's in view, you can see how to use string.equals. This is the name of the string, dot equals is the operation that we're using. So here if we create a string, call it superhero, and put Spider-Man into it, this is what would happen. So we're creating a string, calling it superhero. We're putting the word Spider-Man into it. You can do this in a different way. In fact, I'm going to show you. Just kidding. Changed my mind. We'll initialize this string like this for now, because it is a class. So this is one way to do it. I mean, you can do it and it looks like a variable, but we'll just do it this way. So we'll create the variable superhero, or I mean, sorry, the string superhero, and then we'll put the word Spider-Man in superhero, and then we'll check if superhero dot equals. Remember, that's the name of the string. If it equals Spider-Man, then print out that is Spider-Man. Else, meaning it's this ran is this ran is false, then we would say that is not Spider-Man. So hopefully that line of code makes sense. Maybe type that in, play around with it, see what happens, and then I mean that's how you check for string equality. One application of this would be, like, the easiest thing to see would be passwords. It's just checking to see if your username and password is, or checking to see if your password is the same password that's saved on whatever account that you have. You can use string.equals, and then just checks the characters. And it checks each and every character to make sure they're exactly the same. So if I put a space after this, and then I checked it with something without a space, it would run as false, because the space is the difference. So is that it? Nope, it's not. One more. Okay, conditional operators. This is you can you can also check for more than one thing if something is something or something else. So if either of these come up as true, then this line of code works, because we're using or, because those two lines, those are the if you hold shift and it's like the backslash key that's above the enter key, that's where you get these two bars. So you just hit that twice, and then this is called ampersand. If you do ampersand, that's and. So what does that mean? We're checking more than one thing. So if superhero.equals, so we're saying if this string is the same as Spider-Man, or if this string is the same as Spider space man, then you can say that is Spider-Man. Else, that's not. So if you said if you wanted to check two conditions in one single if statement, then you can say something 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 and something something something. So it's if this is satisfied and this is satisfied, you would be using the ampersand. Then this line of code was. If one of those was wrong, and because we're using an and, I mean right now it's an or, but if we change this to and or ampersand and said if this and one of them is false, then the whole entire thing would be false and this wouldn't run. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you play around with it, you'd be able to see. So I encourage you to take some time to play around with it, because we have plenty of lab time, especially if you get done with this all on the first day. That's it. There you go.